Hey everybody, today on the Life and Leadership Podcast, we're going to be asking David some leadership questions we have received. Over the past 11 weeks we've been doing this podcast. It's been a lot of fun. We're so thankful for everybody who's jumped on and subscribed and joined. And so today we hope this is a real treat for you. We believe it's going to help you and add value to your life. So tune in. Don't miss a moment of it.
Welcome to Life and Leadership with David Gadberry. We're excited that you're joining our leadership community. There's a lot of information about leadership, but a lot of times it's too sterile for real life. Life is messy and leadership can be messy. Here we talk about real leadership in the context of real life. If you're a leader looking for tips, insight, and wisdom on leadership, you can follow David on social media. And for upcoming group coaching experiences and more, go to gadberry.org. David is the lead pastor of Summit Church in Canyon, Texas, and we would love to invite you to be a part. For more information, go to yoursummitchurch.com. This is the Life and Leadership Podcast.
Okay. Hey David, how's it going today?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Connor?
We can never start one of these without some chuckles and some laughs. So if you jump on here and we're red-faced from the side, or you're just listening and we've got a little humor in our voice, we can't get on here without cracking some jokes. But today, we have a lot of leadership questions, and we could probably spend 2 hours on this thing, but we're going to compile it into 30 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask some real pointed questions that I hope will help people that are in, the business world or ministry world, or they're trying to start a business. Man, we just hope it brings a lot of value to them. But the first one, because the position you're in as a pastor and a leader, you oversee other leaders, you help build other leaders. Right. And so the first question is, how do you or other leaders in your organization communicate the core values of your organization?
How do I and other leaders of my organization communicate our core values? Man, that's a great question. And it's probably one that's been talked about to death. We talk about core values a lot. We talk about vision, and we talk about culture and all those things.
Do.
But and there's been a lot of comment on them. A lot of people, leaders have talked a lot about this. So I'm not going to try to go into some kind of true long drawn out discussion. Here's what I would say: the best way to communicate the core values of your organization by the leader of the organization and everyone who leads in the organization is to just do it.
Oh man. So good.
You can talk a good game. Every leader can talk a good game, and you can talk about what the core values are. But if you're not doing those things, if that is not reflected through your day-to-day living, your day-to-day actions, the way you respond to certain situations, the way you lead, the way you approach things, if the core values that you espouse in your organization are not informing and influencing the way you behave as a leader, then you can say it all day long. You can put it on signs. You can do whatever you want to creatively to say these are our core values.
Yep.
But the only values that people are really grabbing a hold of that are a part of your organization or following you as a leader, the only ones they're going to grab a hold of are the ones that you're actually doing.
Man, so good.
Right.
If you're listening today and you're wondering, why are they just doing a question and answer podcast and it's not pointed at a topic? We've had a lot of questions come in and we haven't been able to get to them. I mean, we've been running these podcasts. It seems pretty long, but it's really not. It's just you're listening to a conversation. A lot of podcasts are long nowadays, but that's why we're doing it. That's a great answer for that. This question: how do you inspire creative thinking within your organization that still aligns with the vision of the organization?
That's a really good question. I think the first way you have to answer that is to understand what creativity is. In leadership circles, it's probably understood a little more and studied a little more than it is in ministry circles. And sometimes that is not the case anymore. A lot of people in ministry circles are really pursuing leadership and leadership development and all that. So it's getting a lot better. But the fact is, when we use the word creative, a lot of times people will define creative as artistic. And so we consign all of the creative thinking to the creative people.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference between creative and artistic.
Yeah.
Being artistic is not the only thing there is to creativity. It's only a part of creativity. So if you're going to think about how do you get, how do you allow for or empower creative thinking in your organization and cause it to align with your vision and values, you first have to understand what that means. So creative thinking is what I call solution-oriented thinking. In other words, it's having people on your team who, when a problem arises or when something needs to be thought through or there needs to be more consideration given or whatever the case may be, people who are creative thinkers don't overstate the problem. They analyze the problem and immediately begin to develop solutions. Now, if your vision and values is deeply embedded in the heart of those people, then when they move towards solutions or they become creative in their thinking about whatever the obstacle or problem or issue or consideration is, then they're going to approach it from a place of vision and values. That all hinges on your culture. What are the norms and the vision and the values and the way of doing things that you have espoused as your culture? And is it healthy and is it really deep in everybody? And if it is, and you've done your due diligence to make that happen, then when people get creative, it doesn't mean that they're going outside the lines. It may mean that they're coming out of a box, that they're getting unstuck. It may be they draw the lines a little differently, but they will be influenced and informed by your vision and by your values, and it will be solution oriented. It won't be, here's the problem and this is the problem and we're obsessing over the problem, but we analyze the problem, we find out what the real issue is. That's right. And then we bring solutions to it. And it's usually more than one. I always ask people, bring more than one solution, because
yes, you do.
A lot of times when you bring solutions, you may not use that solution, but the team may get a hold of it and it may morph into a different solution, but was influenced by that solution that was brought. So
people who are solution oriented have to be creative.
Right.
They're a marriage. Right. I mean, that's really, I guess the question could really be, how do you make people think solution oriented?
Right.
Because I think something great you just said is creativity doesn't have to be associated specifically with artistic nature.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to play an instrument. You don't have to be able to sing to be creative.
Right.
It's a mindset. It's so good. Another question. What is one characteristic that you believe every leader should possess?
There are so many. When you said that, my mind filled up. But I'm just gonna be as clear as I can be about this.
Only one.
And succinct. Integrity. And I believe it's more important now than it's ever been, because it's almost popular now to kind of brush integrity, honesty, accuracy, accountability to the side. Oh, we don't worry about those things anymore. And if you look at our culture, well, at least the visible culture seen through media in our world today, a lot of it has just pushed that way. But the truth is, it still matters, because when you go do business with somebody, you want them to be honest.
Absolutely.
When you're going to negotiations with somebody, you want to know they're not about to rip you off.
Absolutely.
When you're counting on somebody to be on your team, you don't want to be stabbed in the back. Integrity still matters. Now let me just take integrity one step further. Integrity doesn't necessarily translate to honesty. Honesty is a part of integrity, but honesty is a symptom of a person who has integrity, because the word integrity means to be complete. It means to be whole.
Right.
So it's this view of life that is holistic. In other words, I need to be healthy. I need to be whole. I need to be a complete person. I need to understand my identity. And for us as believers, I need to understand my identity in Christ. And it's out of the context of that honesty flows and transparency flows and accountability flows.
So good.
And so I think leaders, hands down, integrity is important. I'm not following you if I can't trust you.
Right.
Period.
It doesn't matter how talented you are.
Yeah.
I don't care if you can do whatever it is you do good.
Yeah.
If I can't trust who you are is integrous.
Yeah.
I heard a guy say it like this one time, and it's just like you said, the definition. All parts of my life are integrated. There's nothing broken away from another thing.
Right.
Who I am with my family is how I am in front of people.
Right. Yeah.
It's so important.
We're not compartmentalizing. We're not pieces. We're not.
Yes.
We're not all these parts out here coming together as one in a kind of a secret place. No, my life is what it is. You can see it very clearly.
Yep.
There's no secrets.
Right.
Listen, where secrecy is, nothing good.
That's so good.
I know there's a lot of people that live a secret cult. They have a secrecy culture in their organization, in their families. I don't know why they think that if something comes out that's negative, it'll put a bad light. But the truth is, if something is wrong, then it needs to be dealt with up front and communicated in a clear way. And I find that people will be forgiving and they'll be gracious if they think you're not hiding from them.
Right.
Because there's a dishonesty in hiding. In other words, you're trying to pretend everything's okay, but it's not. And that's a lack of integrity. And I'm not following somebody that's not credible. And you're not credible if you don't have integrity.
Yep.
And so, I'm not putting my life on I'm not climbing that mountain with you. I'm not going into battle with you.
Right.
I'm not going, because I don't know. Maybe if you're not integrous, you might disappear and then I might be facing the battle all on my own.
Exactly.
I might get thrown under the bus. And I just know that, there's just no room for that.
Right.
And if you are that kind of a leader and you're very talented, and this happens to a lot of us, you've got a lot of talents. And so maybe you haven't practiced enough integrity and you haven't developed your character and you've leaned on your talent a lot. Just be very careful because you are responsible for the people you're leading. And if your talent has taken you beyond your character, you need to take a step back and go develop yourself, get around some people who can hold you accountable, and remember that there are people depending on you getting it together.
Good. Same amount of people you can help is the same amount you can hurt or devastate.
Exactly. And it's not about perfection.
Right.
Don't hear me say anything about perfection. I'm not saying being perfect. And I don't think anybody should have expectations of perfection on any leader.
Sure.
Because none of us are perfect.
Right. We're people.
But, and I'm going to speak clearly to ministry expectations now. The Bible's very clear that we should live worthy of the calling that Jesus called us with. And so it's important for us to have integrity.
Yep. So if I'm somebody, this is coming from somebody who doesn't feel like they're a leader. They say, how do I start in leadership? Like, I don't feel like I'm a leader. I don't feel like what I'm doing is, how do I start in this thing called leadership?
Right.
Because it can be intimidating to people.
Yeah. Well, first thing I would say is, I believe every person has the potential to be a leader. I'm not saying every person is a leader, but I think every person has a potential to be a leader, especially if you're a believer. And I'm going to speak theologically here for a moment, and then I'll go back to another thought. But if you're a believer, you've been called to, at minimum, lead other people into relationship with God.
Sure.
Because the Bible says in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, I think it's verse 18 or 19, that the ministry of reconciliation was given to Jesus. Now, that ministry means I'm bringing mankind back into relationship with God. So what Jesus did is he led us there. But when he ascended to the Father, sent the Holy Spirit, he empowered us with that mission. Now it's our mission to lead people into that reconciled relationship, to reconcile them back to the Father.
Yep.
So if it's my job then to bring people back into that relationship, then by virtue of the nature of Christianity, I am in essence a leader. Now let's go back. First of all, I think we have to get out of our head that leadership is some kind of you're born with it concept.
Sure.
Now,
Yeah.
there are some people that have a natural tendency towards leadership. You see them on the playground. People gather around them. People want to be around them. They have a natural tendency towards leadership. What they're doing, other people want to do. There's no doubt that there are leaders like that.
Mm-hmm.
But even those leaders have to develop themselves. They have to develop their character. They have to develop their talent. Right. They have to develop their skill. But anybody can develop in the area of leadership. Leadership is influence. It's relationship. It's persuasion. It's connection. It's helping people see potential in themselves. It's believing in others. It's all of those things. There's nothing special about any of those things. All of those things are skills that can be learned.
Yes.
All of those things are things that can be developed in you. So if you're a person, you're saying, man, I really don't feel like a leader, then I would just say start by listening to things like this. I would say start there. Start by educating yourself in what leadership really is. Start looking at things through the filter of leadership, through the filter of influence. Jesus said leadership is service, to serve people, to add value to people. So begin to try some of those things. How can I add value to people? How can I lead people? How can I help people reach their potential? How can I come alongside and partner with them? Read books. Leaders, I've heard.
So you have to invest into it.
If you're not willing to invest to become a good leader,
right,
then just forget about it, because it ain't gonna. If you want to become a good anything, you have to invest in yourself.
Exactly.
If you don't invest yourself, it's not going to happen for you.
Yep, absolutely.
Leaders are readers.
Leaders are readers. Leaders are readers. What are the most important decisions you make as a leader of your organization?
Well, obviously that first, it's case by case. I mean, I can't just say these are the most important decisions. It depends on what the context is. It depends on, the situation, the circumstances. But as in a general sense, I think the most important decisions that you make as a leader of an organization is the investment in people. If I have to choose over things or people, the most critical decision I can make is to choose people.
Choose people.
Strategy over relationship. Choose relationship. Methodology over, personal development of people. Choose people. Because honestly, you can change your methods 40 times. You can get all kinds of different strategies on how to succeed. But the truth is, if you're not deciding daily to invest in the people in your organization, you're making a huge mistake.
It's kind of the thing, am I building my organization on ideas, or am I building my organization on people?
Well, I think the two are, I don't think it's an either or, I think it's an and.
Right.
I think you're building your organization on creativity, on ideas, on vision, but all of that is manifested through people. Yep. And so you have to invest in people. You have to develop people. You have to, my pastor, Kirk Pankratz, he says something that has stuck with me for years, that people don't follow people who they believe in. Now, that sounds contradictory to what we said a while ago. I'm not following you unless you're credible. Sure. So I have to believe in you. That's not what I'm saying. I have to believe in you to follow you. So people believe in the people they follow. Don't misunderstand me. But the reason people follow leaders is because leaders believe in them. It's one thing for me to say, I'm going to follow you, Connor, because, man, you're really sharp and you're really, I really think you know where you're going, and I trust you and you're a man of integrity. But when you then turn to me and
Yeah.
you say, man, I'm so glad you're a part of my team, because it's going to take people like you, David. It's going to take your talents, your skills, your abilities. Man, you got this. You can do this. If anybody can do this, you can do this. And I believe that you're supposed to be a part of our team. And I believe that this is the role you're supposed to play. And I believe that you can achieve far more. Now,
Ready to run through a wall. Yep.
line it up.
Yep.
Let's get it going.
Exactly.
You know, why? Because in every one of us, we need someone to believe in us.
Not blowing smoke.
No.
Telling them intentionally what it is.
Right. Not flattery.
No.
Flattery is, listen, anytime somebody starts flattering you, whether they're a leader or whether they're a follower, get away from them.
Get gone.
Because the Bible just says clearly that, man, flattery is not a good thing, and you better be watching out.
Yeah.
But speaking to the potential that you see in a person, identifying, man, you are really strong in this area. And I really believe that you could take that so much further, helping them get unstuck, helping them get beyond where they've been before, and to see that they do have capabilities they didn't think they have, getting them to stretch beyond what they thought they could do.
Yep.
Believing in them, standing by them when they get it wrong, helping them to learn from that situation.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. As a leader, you can't just lead your team when they're killing it and they're doing everything right you're telling them to do. What about when they are messing up consistently?
Yeah.
Can you love them and lead them through that? Because if you do that, they'll jump off a mountain for you. They'll jump off a cliff with you.
Right.
But nobody likes a leader who just has fun when everything's going right. Yeah. Are you making, like, one thing you've taught me, you said, Connor, when we have, this is something you've told me recently, when there's a busy time or a very purpose-filled time on our staff and we're doing a lot of things, how are you creating fun in the middle of that for the staff?
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, I'm just sitting here thinking about how to get things done and we're not having fun. It's about having fun along the way. Right. And what am I doing to ensure that?
Right. Because you want a light and airy environment.
Yes.
Leadership is intense. And growing anything is intense.
Yep.
And there's no reason to not enjoy the journey. Right. The journey is the point.
Yep.
I've just recently been thinking on something, and I'm going to be sharing some things about it in the future. I can tell as it stirs up in me, but the process is the point. The result at the end of the process is not the point. The process is, because ask yourself a question, whatever result you get at the point, at the end of whatever process you're going through, whatever journey you're going through, what value does it have? The only reason it has value is because of what you went through in the process to get there. Exactly. That's why it's valuable.
Right.
It's not just because it's monetary, and it's not just because it's an award, and it's not just because there's notoriety behind it. No, it's because that has the value of all the effort and all the struggle and all the pain that you went through to get there. So stop acting like the result, because a lot of us type A personalities, the result is everything to us. Yeah. But that really isn't the point. The point is the process. Yep. And so when we go through that process, we cannot go through that process and not enjoy it. Exactly. We can't have moments where it's like, dude, let's just do something that would, surprise everybody and be fun and an environment of,
because work is work. Work is work, but it can still be fun and enjoyable. Right. And if not, who wants to even do that, man? Who even wants to be around it? So the very last question is, and it's kind of, what is the biggest challenge facing leaders today, and how can we fix it?
How many podcasts do we? I don't think there's a way to answer that. I think that question is too general, really. I can make some comments though, but there would be, I could say something that would be, this is what I think it is. And then there'd be somebody else that could say, oh, well, this is what I think it is. I'm just going to speak from because we talked about integrity, you know, is what you need. I'm going to speak from a place of truth. I think the biggest challenge in leadership today is buying into a cultural and moral relativistic type society. And you might say, really? That's what you think is the biggest challenge? I do, because if we continue to go down that path and we continue to dismiss the idea of absolute truth, then with it goes character, with it goes values, with it goes all the things that that are powerful and real in our lives. And this idea that I have a narrative and you have a narrative and I can't interpret my narrative or my values based on your narrative. It has to be a part of my narrative. So what may be evil for you is not evil for me. What may be good for you may not be good for me.
Yep.
And not realizing that absolute truth crosses all narratives, and the idea that we're making up our own narratives in our own little biosphere of life is utterly ridiculous. And it's all it is a justification for a lack of integrity. And it's done in the name of integrity, in the name of being fair, in the name of whatever. And I think if we buy in, and then I think the lack of discernment, and I'm not talking spiritually, I'm just talking about naturally thinking things through, processing things, and having time to think. I think we're doing so much leadership in passing. I think we're doing so much relationship building in passing. I think that we've got so much on our plate and we're going so many directions and we're involved in so many things that we are not taking time to the disciplined time to think and process through things. And so we're just running and gunning, hoping we're hitting it's like ready, fire, aim, you know, instead of ready, aim, fire.
Right.
And so we really got to get, I think leadership is really hurting because we've bought into this. I'll just put it this way. I think the most effective leadership is leadership that's counter to the culture. Why do people who are effective leaders stand out?
Isn't that what a leader is?
Yes.
To me, that's what it means.
So we have far too many leaders just buying in.
Yep.
Instead of stopping and going, is that really a path I want to go down? Is that really a path I want to lead people down?
Yep.
Or is that just something that makes me feel better about or rationalize maybe some things in me that need to change?
Sure.
I'm just going to go ahead and go with it. And, you know, leaders are responsible for those they lead. And so it's important for us to be accountable to that and remember that. So as you can see, there are many things that would be the greatest challenge. Now, what can we do about it? Because we always want to end with solutions.
Yes, that's right. How can we fix it?
You know, I don't know if it's as much fixing it as it is just becoming aware as leaders ourselves that this goes on. I think one of the greatest challenges we have is to act as if what is going on in culture today is not affecting us. You know, how many times have we seen parents, they're saying, man, my kids need to get off their phone, and my kids need to stop being obsessed with their phone, and my kids need to, and my kids need to, and we're just doing it ourselves, acting as if it doesn't. And there's this real contagious thing that we have that it's like we are the exception. And do
what I say, not what I do.
Exactly.
Boy. Do what I say.
Yeah. Nonsense. Yeah. And so I think there's a need to. So how do we get back? Common sense, wisdom. You know, think things through, process. Don't just go with every whim.
Yeah.
Don't just listen to every rumor.
Ask yourself tough questions.
Yeah. Challenge yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. Think about yourself in terms of reality.
Yes. Where am I?
Because you can't go where you want to go unless you know where you are.
Yes. How am I doing?
Yes. Stop.
Come on, say it.
Lying to yourself.
Say it.
I mean, because
say it.
The honest truth is, if you're going to get to where you're going, you got to stop lying to yourself. Because if you're already telling yourself you're there, then there's no way to figure out how to really get there. And when you do get there, you can't celebrate it because you've been lying about it.
Yep.
Right? So it's very important that we just get real. We just get honest. But then we don't rationalize and justify bad behavior.
Yep.
We lead people in and I'm not talking about morality here. I'm talking about the way you treat people. I'm talking about, cutting corners. I'm talking about lack of integrity. I'm talking about, those little white lies that don't matter because you just guess the way you play the game business. Secretive culture, having secrets. Listen, I told our church this weekend as I spoke a message on marriage, there's nothing good when there's in a culture or atmosphere of secrets.
Right.
So if you've got secrets, get rid of them.
Get rid of them.
If there's something that you don't want your spouse to know, either get rid of it or open up and talk about it.
Yep.
But because sin is creeping at the door when you allow for a secret culture in your relationships and in your organizations. Be transparent. Be transparent. We ain't hiding nothing.
Right.
But be transparent.
Yep.
What's there to be gained by all this secrecy?
Right.
If there's secrecy, it means you're hiding something.
That's right. And Craig Rochelle says it. I love this quote. People would rather follow somebody who is always real than somebody who is always right.
Yeah. Exactly.
And there's nobody that's always right. But what he's saying is people who think they're perfect and polished all the time, not to be excellence is needed, but just be authentic.
Just be yourself.
Just be you.
Yeah.
I can't change my accent.
Yeah, exactly. You
know what I'm saying?
Right here, you're right before we started, you're trying to get in podcast mode.
Yes.
And you're like, man, I just can't be fake, Pop. And I'm like, well, just be yourself, Connor. I mean, nobody wants you to be fake.
And the reason why I call him Pop, because he's my father-in-law, by the way. It's, so, but anyhow.
So there's real value.
Yep.
There's real value in it. And you know what? When people stop and think about it and let all this conglomeration of philosophy that goes through our minds because of all the inundation of information that we have in our culture today, let's just be honest. When you just stop and get quiet and think about it, all these things about character and value and honesty and integrity, we all know it's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all know it's right.
Yeah.
And there's freedom in it. You know why there's freedom in integrity and why there's freedom in honesty and transparency and accountability? Because you don't have to hide anything.
Right.
So you don't have to constantly be going, are they going to find out? Are they going to figure me out?
Yeah.
And it's not just about sex. It's about money too. You know, it's about power. It's about agendas. And you're constantly nervous and constantly stressed and constantly wondering if somebody's going to figure out what you were doing and how you were maneuvering and all.
Yep.
And just stop and be honest and let the freedom of that transparency and accountability and honesty free you from all that secretive life and hidden life and all that.
What trap door am I going to fall through? What lie am I going to fall through? It's I'm 23, but when I was probably 14, 13 years old, I used to always tell my youth pastor, you go on youth trips when you're a kid and, you may have done something that summer. You go to youth trip, man, you go on fire for God again. And I just tell them, man, there ain't nothing better than being clean.
Yeah.
When you take a shower at the end of a long day of working, there ain't nothing better than being clean.
Right.
It's just a clean mind.
Right.
You just open, you're free, just like you said, and you don't have to worry about.
And this whole idea of cultural relativism and moral relativism, what it does is it tries to rationalize that idea away.
Yes.
That we really don't need to worry about our conscience. We really don't need to worry about ever feeling shame or guilt or, anything like that, because what's your truth is your truth and blah, blah, blah. And we all know, because God has given us all a conscience, whether you're a believer or not.
Yeah.
You can be seared in your conscience.
Right.
Your conscience can grow cold and you can reject the truth of it. But all of us in our own nature, because we were made in the image of God, have this kind of deep understanding of what's right and wrong.
Yep.
And we can have all this talk on philosophy about this and that and this and that. But when it comes down to it, we know.
Yep.
We know. You know how I know that's true? Because when your kid lies to you, you don't like it.
Exactly.
Right?
They ain't just on their journey then.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. He's just on his journey. No, he's lying and you don't like it.
Exactly.
Why? Because it's wrong.
Right.
Right.
And not to make light of the situation, but my goodness, it's to a point, it's like, this is insanity.
Right. And what happens is, Connor, what we don't realize is it steals from us.
Yes.
It steals from our success. It steals from our future. How many people are in prison because of embezzlement or scams? Yep. How many people have lost their marriages and their families and their homes? I mean, when are we going to wake up and go, there's a reason for this? Yeah,
it's like Ravi Zacharias says, I've heard him explain this a million times, but he talks about when you're driving and you're looking, say there's a flagpole there and you're driving, that's a reference point that's letting you know you're moving forward.
Right.
He said, what if the pole started moving with you?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what this thinking is like.
It is.
There's no reference.
Right.
For right or wrong.
Right.
Everything's moving.
Right.
So where am I standing?
Right.
There's no foundation.
Exactly.
No foundation.
It leads to destruction. I believe it's what the Bible was talking about when it said, there is a way that seems right to a man, but the end of it is destruction.
Yep.
So, we look at the results and it's like we just ignore them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think something really incredible is happening in leadership circles, and that people are kind of really rethinking things, it seems like to me, and they're wondering, what happened to our values? And
sure.
And we can talk all this philosophy all day long, but when you get out into the real world, people want you to be honest.
Absolutely.
People want you to have integrity.
Yep.
I got to know that the people at the school that are educating my child are credible and they're honest people.
Right.
And they're not going to do something to my kid that's going to mess them up.
Exactly.
Right. Why? If there really is no absolute truth, or there really is no, why do I care? Well, because that could damage your kid. Well, why? What does it matter? Right. So we as leaders, I think what I really see is people are moving back to common sense and starting to say, and a lot of people never left it.
Right.
It's just we're not as loud as the people who are espousing some of these philosophies that are literally tearing the foundation of our nation. I'm not talking about Christian things. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's a battle there. But I'm talking about the foundation of our nation. Literally, there's an attempt to tear our society apart. And it has to do with,
and I mean, we're seeing a kickback from the younger generation.
Yeah. Like
my little brother, he wouldn't mind me saying this either, because he's full on about this. But my little brother, he hates the idea of not being a hard worker.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm so tired of people thinking that my generation doesn't work hard. So I'm going to do everything I can to keep that from being true of me.
Right.
He's like, I don't even want to be associated with that.
Right.
There are so many other kids his age that are like that.
Yeah. And so I think there is a knee-jerk reaction to that, and I think there's balance being brought back. And so I know we were talking all over the place here, but the role here, the solution is that leaders be leaders.
Yes.
The things that qualify you to be a leader, the things that the character that you're supposed to have as a leader, the responsibility you're supposed to take for those who follow you, all of these things are very important. And if we'll do that, that in and of itself is the solution to some of the things that are trying to tear down the fabric of our society. So
absolutely. So good. So good. So today, thank you so much for joining us on Life and Leadership. We hope that you invest into your leadership by just listening to this. If you want to be a part, you can subscribe, and you'll hear all about that here in just a few moments. Thank you for being a part. We hope you have a great day, and God bless you.
Thanks for being a part of the Life and Leadership podcast all around the world. We have listeners that are a part of our leadership family in Nigeria, Sweden, South Korea, United Kingdom, and all over the United States. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcast, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Castro, Castbox, and Podchaser. For video version of this podcast, you can subscribe on YouTube.